Hi everybody, welcome to the pattern making class. So today's topic is introduction to pattern making. So what exactly is pattern making? So I've got this slide to help us to understand what pattern making means. So what is pattern making? Pattern making is essentially the art of creating a template. Whatever template you create is also called a pattern. So it is the art of creating a template called pattern, which is then used to cut out fabrics which are sewn together to give you your final garment. An important thing to note is that the template or pattern must match a required specification to sew a garment. So you have a specification that is given to you before you make a template that is then used to cut out fabric which is sewn together to give the final garment. So we have different types of pattern making. Sometimes it is classified into two, sometimes it is classified into three. For this class, we'll be using the three classifications. The first, which is draping. The second one is computer aided design method of pattern making, and the third one is flat pattern making. So what is draping? Draping involves wrapping a fabric around the dress form. The dress form is the mannequin. So you get a fabric, which is usually a muslin or locally called calico. It's a cheap cotton fabric which is used to drape on the dress form. So when you're done with the draping, a paper copy of the muslin is used as the final pattern or your template, which is used to cut. Some fine tuning is done to it, like maybe adding seam allowance and all that, and then it is used to cut the final fabric. So essentially, an importance of this is just that you tend to see what your final garment is going to look like already when you drape on the dress form. You can visualize what it is you want and what you want the final garment to look like. So you can see the finished look up front when you drape. Although a downside might be that maybe it takes longer or it will cost more because you have to get the muslin first to use to drape before then you turn into a template with the paper and then you cut out your final fabric. So that's draping. The second type of pattern making is the computer aided design. This is essentially using pattern making software to draft patterns. It is usually used in fashion design schools to teach digital pattern making, those softwares. It is essentially also used by big manufacturing companies, So what is used is that vector software are used in drafting the pattern. Okay, so some of the vector softwares we now use, like Adobe and the likes, they are good for pattern making, but they are not made solely for pattern making. So we have some other softwares that are made only for pattern making use, and that is you have the Garba, you have like the White Rabbit. I think there are lots of them like that. So they don't just help you. It's not just for drafting. It is also for plotting. They have options like for plotting and layout. That means they show you how best to arrange and organize and plot your patterns to achieve minimum waste. You understand? So it shows you the layout, how to lay out your fabric, how to lay out your patterns on your fabric, the directions and everything, grain and all that. And then it shows you the maximum, the best method to get an optimum use and all that. So those are examples of computer aided designs and software. So as you have guessed, an important advantage is that it reduces time and it reduces cost. So it is quite economical too. So the last type is flat pattern making, and this one involves taking precise measurements on a person. Okay, so these measurements are transferred to the paper and some basic proportions are used as a guide. The basic proportions are gotten from over the years, because of research and things like that. Authors that are fashion designers themselves have come up with textbooks, and then they've gotten some metric, that means calculated proportions, that are to be used when you want to draft patterns for different sizes. Okay, so when you're doing a flat pattern making, you consult those textbooks for the proportions that serve as a guide for you when you are drafting. So the patterns you make then are usually called blocks or slopers. Blocks and slopers can be used interchangeably, and they are just like your initial or basic or foundation blocks. They can later be adapted into various or different variations if you wish. Okay, so that is basically, or in simplified form, the different types of pattern making and introduction to pattern making. So all these different forms can be used individually and they can also be combined together. Okay, so for pattern making we have different tools, and depending on the method you are using, your tools might vary. But for flat pattern making, the tools that are required are as follows. You have your pattern paper. It can be brown, white, it can be in form of graph, whichever one you find and whichever one is convenient for you. You have scissors, measuring tape, set square, tracing wheel, L square ruler, French curve, hip curve, pencils, masking tape, a marking awl. All of these tools you get to know their uses as we go on in the course. Okay, so that is about it. And so in conclusion, I would just like to say that the importance of pattern making is numerous, but part of the importance of pattern making is that it makes duplication easy. Okay, so it gives you consistency in your finished results. So if I make a pattern and I'm making a dress or a garment for someone, if I wish to make that garment again, I am sure to get the same result, just because the pattern I already made is what I'm still going to use for the person. So it ensures that you don't have to start from scratch. You already have a pattern, so all you have to do is just cut out the fabric and sew again. So it makes duplication easy. It gives consistency in the garments that you produce. It is also economical. Pattern making helps you to save fabric. Okay, so you've done all the manipulations on the pattern, and then it saves your fabric in the long run. And then most importantly, it ensures that there is an accurate fit in the finished garment. when pattern making is done correctly, the result is always an accuracy in fit. So that brings us to the end of the topic. So thanks for watching.